Well, hello VC. Welcome to my latest video. And today, obviously, I finally got done listening to the Beatles boxes. And I've got a few other, some Japanese records that I compared to these. You know, that comprises my Beatles collection at the present time. And that's what I compared. So first of all, let's talk about the Beatles stereo box. You know, I had this one, I've had it for a couple of years now. And when I first bought it, my son said, "Oh Dad, you can't take the shrink off that, we got to keep that." Because, you know, I had a bunch of Beatles records. It's not like I didn't have any Beatles records to listen to. So I said, okay, well, we can leave the shrink on it. And, you know, one day we'd open it up, kind of thing. And so I was reading on the Steve Hoffman forums, and there was page after page after page. You know, they were talking about the box, the stereo box, and how terrible it was, and how all the pressings were mispressed, and they were off-center, and the stampers weren't doing the proper job. It was all, so I was like, what in the world? I can't have that record. I called Music Direct. I said, listen, I got the stereo box, it's still sealed. I haven't opened it up. Can I send it back? And I told them why. We had been on the forums and what they all said. And he's going, and you know how I always tell you, Music Direct, it doesn't matter what, they'll take it back. Not this time. The fellow says, you know, Ron, you've had the record a year. I said, yeah, but it's still sealed. Nothing wrong, it's in the box. Yeah, but you know, we got a 90-day money-back guarantee. And you know, we can stretch that, but the year's pushing it. You know, my boss is going to be not happy with me if I take that back. I said, okay. And he said, listen, don't worry about it. We don't have anybody returning those. They're fine. I don't know those folks over there on the forums. I don't know what their problem is, but we don't have that problem. I said, okay, cool. So, you know, I opened it up and I started inspecting all of the pressings. And of course, you know, it comes with the book. You've probably all seen the book. This one's still sealed. Really nice, you know, look how thick it is. Wonderful book in there. And then, like I said, I started inspecting all the pressings, and I didn't find anything wrong with any of them. And they sound great. And now the covers, they have like a normal record shrink on it. You have to split it open. Of course, I don't take the shrink off. And then we've got the record. It comes in these outer sleeves, the inner sleeves, I mean, that are really high quality. You can buy these online, but these are some of the more expensive inner sleeves to get. So I compliment them for that. That was really nice touch to put that high quality inner sleeve on there. And then, you know, if you can see the pressings there in the camera, you know, doesn't do it justice. Really nice. So yeah, I looked at all of them under the bright light, every single one, and I only could find two teeny little small things that I could see. And when I played them, it didn't sound at all. There's nothing on the record that makes any sounds. And now that was and now when we get to Magical Mystery Tour, it's a gatefold. And on one side of the gatefold, that's where they have the book. Now normally, the book is stapled into the there's this first part, it's not really a gatefold, it's just a thick part of a cover which opens up and the book is stapled in there. But this book now is really on thick cardstock and the pictures are perfectly done. I mean, this is really well done here. Whoever was in charge of this idea to do it like this and to put it inside here, I don't know if it was cheaper, better, whatever, but I like it a lot better like that. That is not true to the original, but it's an improvement on the original. So that's really cool. And then of course, you know, they have the Past Masters is in here. It's a double LP. Got a lot of B-sides, #1 hits, that kind of thing on there. And for the most part, you know, and then of course the stereo box has 2 extra records. You're going to get Abbey Road and Let It Be. That's not in the stereo box. I mean the mono box, because those were recorded in stereo. All of these other records were originally recorded only in mono, and it was put into pseudo stereo at Capitol because, I mean, you know, stereo was brand new. People wanted stereo. When I was a kid and I wanted to listen to stereo, you know, the voice coming out of one speaker and the guitar out of the other. Wow, well, that's cool. You know, because you're used to listening to like one speaker all the time, mono. Then you got your stereo. Well, when we had, it was type flip down. You had the 2 pretty good sized speakers on there. The turntable flipped down, and you'd play your records on. Of course, you stacked them up, and they all plopped down one on top of the other. You played them. You didn't know any better. But they sounded nice. But you know, on one speaker was one, and one speaker was came the other song. I loved it. That was cool. So that's fine. So now, that's about it for the stereo box there. Let us see what's inside this mono box. What kind of differences does this one have? Well, first of all, again, you get a book. It's a nice book. Got the Beatles on it. And you see it's not quite as thick as the stereo book. But from what Michael Firmer was talking about this, and he said there's a lot of rare photographs in here that you can't find anywhere else. And the same thing with the stereo book. There's a lot of stuff in there. And collectors are really going after this type of thing, this book. And what else do collectors want? It was the collectors that wanted this mono box set, because I used to do a lot of reading about the mono versus the stereo back in the day, because I had a Japanese red vinyl mono record. They always go for over $100 on eBay, and I was able to get one at a record store at a good value one time, and so I compared it. And so I was always wondering, what's the big attraction to the mono versus the stereo? And there's so many folks that just love the mono. That's what they're into. And of course, this was done from the analog master tape. They cut the lacquer from the master tape, and then the lacquer, they've made the mothers and they pressed the record, so it's all analog. Now the stereo box was just like they did with Dark Side of the Moon. They digitized the tape. So we've got, and then let's look at the way the records are in here. We've got a Japanese resealable outer sleeve on there. The only trouble with these now is you have to make sure you always close them, because if you don't, you lay something on it, you can tear the paper. Very nice. They're a little bit thicker than the stereo box set, but they're trying to be faithful to the original UK LPs, because these are made in the EU. So if anything, it's probably thicker than the original. And of course, look, it's folded over just like the originals were. And of course, they're not yellow like the originals would be. You'd see them today, because these are brand new. These are still white. And now you still get a very nice inner sleeve, and look at, it's got the little kind of the cut corners on it, just like the European inner sleeves, like came with the original came on there originally in the UK box. And look at how nice that record is. Really nice. I mean, I looked at all of these. I haven't gone over them with the microscope like I did on the other box set, but I haven't seen a blemish on these either. Really nice. And then they had this little card. They have a card like similar to this in every record. See, because it says on here, please please me. Of course, and with the Beatles, it'll say with the Beatles. And then it says on the card, the packaging of this album replicates as closely as possible the artwork and construction of the original LP released in March of 1963. And then, of course, it'll tell you the release date of all the different records. And it talks about that, there's copyright information that's on a different place on here. And, of course, it's got a little ad for the show at the Mirage. That's probably why it's in there in the first place. So, the difference between the stereo box set and the mono box, the covers are all very, very faithful to the originals. As where in the stereo box set, those covers are faithful to what you would call a box set cover. Box set covers were never as thick as the original ones, the ones that you bought in the store. They were always, they've got this big box to protect it. So it's more of a thicker type inner sleeve. But they're not. They're more like covers than anything. They're not that thin. They're nice. So now let's check out Magical Mystery Tour. See how they did that one. What's the difference? Now see, this is very faithful to the original. This was actually reissued in the States, not in UK. So it's got a US cover. It's very thick. It's not a gatefold here. And see, the book is stapled inside. And the paper's not nearly as thick. But it's still very, very nice. The pictures are exactly the same clarity. Everything is just as good quality. But the cover is much thicker. I mean, this is identical to what you would have got back in the day as a first issue. That's what's really nice about the mono set is the covers and all the time that they spent to do this properly. And then I want to talk about the white LP, because see, the white LP is a top loader, just like it was originally in the UK. The UK press. And then, of course, you got the Mono Masters, and this is a 3 LP in here. So you've got obviously one more record with songs on it. And I guess that's about it for the mono box. Now, I did compare. I've got the white LP. And this one, this is a second edition. Now, before I bought this second, I bought a first edition on the red vinyl, and the LPs were near mint, but the cover was probably BG plus kind of thing. And then I saw this one, and it's got a near mint cover, near mint everything. The records are near mint, and so I got it at a good price. So I compared the black vinyl to the red. I couldn't tell any difference. So I just kept this issue here, just as good as the red vinyl, for sound anyway, not for collectability. Then A Hard Day's Night, this is on the EAS series. Beatles for Sale, EAS series again. And we've got Magical Mystery Tour, this is again on the EAS series. And it's made, well, it's not quite as thick as that cover that was in that mono box. You see, this is the reissue, so it's a lot thinner. But the book is still attached. It's got all that, but it's not as thick. This is more like, I guess, what a UK album would have been like. It's not faithful to the US cover like that mono box is. That's how nice that mono box is now. But okay, so now, one last thing about I took, it's got 4 pictures and the poster. I took the 4 pictures and the poster out of all 3, compared them all, and they're all about the same. They're all, the quality that's in these things, the posters and the pictures, if this is better quality than anything domestic was ever made. And that's one of the things I like about these records. And so the quality of this and the other 2 boxes is about the same. Very high quality, really well done. So that's good to know. Okay, so now, how do they sound? About time I got to that part, right? Well, you know what? Let's put it back up here. After all that said and done, after listening to all that stuff, here's the winner right here. This is the one I like. This is the one I like for the sound. Like I said, I grew up. So the first 2 records now, the voice is coming out of one speaker and the guitar's coming out of the other. But after the second LP, Hard Day's Night, they all have on the stereo box now, this voice is all centered in the middle. And then you'll have the guitar coming out of one and the cymbal may be coming out of the other speaker. But what I like about it is you've got more ambience. It's bigger, there's a bigger sound stage, and it just has more life to the music and to the singing, to the voice, everything. Not to say that there's not fidelity on this record. This has got a lot of fidelity. And in some points, some of the things, like a cowbell on some and the other, it sounds actually maybe a little bit better on this to a point, but it's more centered in between the speakers. Some of the later mono recordings, it's unbelievable how they kind of spread out, and there's actually, you can hear positions of instruments and things on it. It's just not like coming out of one speaker in the middle. But I listened to them all. Okay, now what's the difference of the Japanese? Why didn't the Japanese end up being better? Well, this has got the typical Japanese sound on these records. They're Japanese. The highs are a little bright and the bottom is a little muted. And so this sounds just like if it was pressed at Quality Records pressings. They've done the same thing. They've taken the brightness away, they've improved the bass, and you can still hear all the detail, maybe even more, but you don't have that brightness with it. It just sounds so much more natural. So my hat's off to Rainbow and pressing these records and everybody that did it. Now, they're digital. I don't care. I like what I hear, what I like. Now, it's like the Pink Floyd. They got that from, Dark Side of the Moon, and Wish You Were Here. That was off of a digital tape. I like those too. I didn't like the Led Zeppelin, as you all know. Okay, well, that's going to conclude the video. Hope you liked it. Any questions, any comments, just put them in there and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Thanks for watching.